I used to live on a street next door to a pub where I used to play pool as a 17, 18-year-old. And if you'd have said to me at that age, one day you'll live on this road, I would have said, no, I won't. Like,
who are you? What'd you do?
Yeah, well, if you don't know who I am, where have you been? Gareth Hoyle, been working in agency land for 16 years. I've built and exited software businesses within SEO. I've built and exited affiliate sites within SEO.
But do you think that guest posting is...
Hey, very quickly, if you are struggling ranking your website on Google, maybe you are an e-commerce store trying to get more sales, or potentially you might even be a local business trying to generate more leads for your company, check the link down below. I have helped businesses rank higher than the Google logo. Okay, that might have been a slight lie, but if you are looking to consistently grow your revenue month on month, check the link down below, fill in the form, see if my team can help you. Right, back to the video.
So, welcome back to another podcast, and I am joined with Gareth Hoyle.
Hello.
First of all, for anybody that doesn't know who you are you? What'd you do?
Yeah, well, if you don't know who I am, where have you been? I'll be joking. Gareth Hoyle, been working in agency land for 16 years. I've built and exited software businesses within SEO. I've built and exited affiliate sites within SEO. But the main thing that I've been doing for as long as I can remember is link-based content, link-based campaigns, PR these days. Back in the day, we owned thousands of directories. Links are our life more than anything.
Yeah, one of the earliest things that I remember hearing about you is that you had all directory websites, and then you also had to get them removed as well because they became, or they got hit by Penguin.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that? Because that's the very first thing I ever heard about you, and I was like, wow, that's something.
It was quite a business model. I mean, we're going back, April the 21st, 2012 was when Penguin hit. I'll never forget that day, if I'm honest. Wiped out 80% of my business at the time. So I have a lot of empathy for the AI content guys that got hit last March, because SEO is cyclical. So things work for a while and then they stop working. But yeah, I had at the time hundreds of staff in India, and we were doing really well, and all our clients were doing well. At the time, we were working for a budget airline in the UK. We had, for the search term, flights to Faro, we had positions 1 to 10. So
all of the positions?
All the positions,
right,
1 to 10 for flights to Faro. I mean, that was using their main domain. I think we had a subdomain of their main domain. We had a flights-to-Faro, like just nonsense. But it was all ranked on sand. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. Like we were just spamming directories, article sites, all the junk that was working at the time. April 21st came, everything was de-indexed. Like we're talking tens of thousands of sites de-indexed overnight as Google just basically made a big swipe. So that was when having bad links could go against your rankings, which to us kind of opened an opportunity, I suppose. So like you need to remove your links. Like you can email to the site owners and ask them to no index or no follow the links. You can disavow eventually. So it was a couple of at least 6 to 8 months, I think, before disavow tool came out. So people's visibility was down, SEOs were panicking, they don't know what to do. And the easiest way of getting your links removed would be to get in touch with the guy that had the login.
Right, okay.
So obviously we still had wages to pay. So we charged a fee to remove the link from the sites, which, yes, you look back on it now and you think, wow, that's a bit cheeky. But at the time, all these customers had the benefit of these links. Like, we're not like selling, they knew what they were buying. Like this wasn't,
definitely.
Oh, we are white hat, we're going to do this for you and everything's always going to be fine. It was sold with a risk analysis. Like, look, guys, we are like, gaming the system here. Direct anchor text links on web directories that were built for SEO. Like, it was never going to last forever.
One thing that I would like to add to that is that everybody was doing it back then. From what I've been told, like I wasn't doing SEO back then, but everybody was doing all these spammy link building techniques. There wasn't the content kings and queens of the world where they're like, yeah, go and write perfectly optimized content. It was all literally about keyword density and just building as many links as you possibly could.
If you weren't building links, you weren't ranking. Yeah. And I know that's to a certain degree still true today. But today you can get the best content out there and you know, get the topical maps built and the spokes to feed into your money pages. Reality is, back in 2012, the algorithm was a lot simpler. Like there was no artificial intelligence, there was no hummingbird and quality content sort of stuff. It was a voting game. So if you had more votes, you were going to rank higher. And if the anchor text of that vote was flights to Faro, if we just keep on that example, I'm going to Faro on Thursday tomorrow, which is why that's in my mind, I suppose. Then that's how you ranked. And we're not talking about little affiliate sites here. We're talking about brands, high street brands that were buying this service from us. Like that was how you built links in the day. There was a little bit of PBN stuff, but that was almost an expensive way of doing it when you didn't need to. You just put one 300-word article into an article spinning website, you've got 10 articles. You put those articles on 10 different article submission sites, you've got 10 unique pages on Google linking back to you. I mean, this is, when you look back on it now, like, what were we doing?
It's crazy.
You know what? For the record, I much prefer it now. Like, I'm actually marketing my clients' businesses. Like, there isn't cheat in the system. Like, the reason why we're ranking high for a lot of my clients these days is because we're doing, think of skyscraper technique. Like, we're looking at what's already ranking and we're making something better. And we're looking at what links they're getting and trying to emulate and improve on what the link profile is currently ranking. So it's a lot harder now. It's a lot more expensive, but it is also a lot more legitimate, if I'm honest. Definitely.
So one question before we get into like what your agency does now. Back then, you said you lost 80% of your income overnight from the Penguin update. How'd you bounce back from something like that? What's you wake up on that day?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts like? What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, welcome to SEO. So the first time, December the 22nd, 2011, we ranked number 1 in the UK and the US for link building. The next day we were de-indexed. Like, we'd just gone on our Christmas break. So all my team were off. I didn't even have the ability to call on someone to be like, look, guys, let's just throw one to a new domain. Then we've got Christmas to see if we bounce back. I just left it. It was Christmas. You know, we all need a break. So we always knew we were building on sand. So we always knew that this won't last forever. And I think that's what the guys and girls that were hit in the March updates and the helpful content update last September, October, they're missing a trick there. Like, this doesn't last forever. So I've always tried to take my digital earnings and put it into property or bullion or watches or cars or number plates or whatever it is that floats your boat in terms of offline investments. Because I always knew that by owning 1,000 web directory websites, like, they ain't going to last forever. I mean, we're talking like SEO linkdirectory.com. I mean, I can't even remember. We're going back 12 years now, but they weren't even like hidden. Like, it wasn't like, I mean, if you think of yell.com as like the sort of real world business directory, this was like SEOlinkbiz.net. Like, it wasn't even hidden. Because we wanted to be found. Like, we interlinked all our directories so that we were ranking for web directory submissions, web directory listings. So how do you bounce back? Well, necessity. Like, I got mortgage to pay. I've got kids. I had a wife at the time. I had a house in Portugal that needed paying for. You have to bounce back. So at the time, I worked with a couple of guys and we built a tool called Link Risk, which helped you analyze your link profile to work out which links were bad and which links were good. And that kind of replaced some of the income. Then Google was still a link-based algorithm. So it wasn't a case of, oh, links don't work anymore. It was more a case of those links don't work anymore. So that's when we started to build out, I suppose, like themed PBN websites. So basic blog, like not much difference to the PBNs that you probably see today, in that we would either build ourselves or we would buy access to WordPress blogs about travel, WordPress blogs about finance, WordPress blogs about shopping. You know, you can get quite generic. And those links were working because they were still indexed. So the algorithm was still relatively simple, but it was just that Google decided to de-index directories, article sites, social bookmarks. Like, this is all crappy link building, for want of a better word. Whereas it then moved on to blogs are still indexed. Blogs can be made thematic, and blogs can also, back in the day, WordPress would automatically ping, or you can get a plugin that would ping Google to get it indexed. So it was actually easier, and the margins were still the same. I know that, and again, we're going back a long time here. Some of this stuff we were selling for £50 a post, and it was costing us $3-4 to get access to the site, plus a few dollars to create the content. Good margins in that, really, but it was working. So the clients were still seeing the value because they're getting the traffic, they're getting the visibility. But again, they stopped working after a while because you leave a footprint. Yeah. And if I recently did my talk at SEO Estonia, and one of the things that I love the most about digital PR is you can't buy that link with PayPal. Like, you have to earn that link through your survey, through your content, through your journalist relationship. Like, you can't easily replicate my link profile without investing in digital PR. And that is why I believe we've got a much more solid product now. And whilst I still believe in taking my digital earnings and investing offline, I feel a bit safer in what we're doing in terms of activity for clients now, because we're not cheating the system. We're actually just doing marketing for our clients.
Yeah, definitely. So you touched on digital PR. Obviously, you are a big, massive advocate of it because you're working with some big brands. And the next question might piss off quite a few people. Good. But do you think that guest posting is dead?
Different definitions of guest posting, I suppose. We still use guest posting a lot. Right. Like, so let's not get confused about anything. We do still use guest posting. I guess it depends on what your quality metrics are for what makes a guest post. So I still stand by the fact, made for SEO, it has to go. I don't believe in PBNs and stuff. Like, and even in our own internal systems, occasionally one gets through. An example would be that we might work with mummyblogger.com, and then you go to PayPal them and it's like a South Asian name. And it's like, that guy's just bought a drop domain. And so we would actually archive that in our systems. Like, we're not interested in working with PBN stuff. But there is something to be said for real links from real sites. So we work a lot in the fashion space. We sell... We, as in my client, sells $1 million a week of underwear, shapewear, and swimwear in the US. Another one of my clients sells a few $100,000 a week of high-waisted jeans, any sort of denim shorts. There are legitimate fashion influencers, bloggers, however you want to sort of word it, out there that you can gift products to. They'll do a flat lay, they'll wear the clothes, they'll give you social content, but they'll also give you a link. They'll reference the product that you've gifted them with a link maybe to the category. Yeah. So my digital PR is not going to get me links to my blue jeans page. It's not going to get me links to my swimwear page. It might get me a link to a specific product if we've managed to gift a journalist that's doing a roundup of the top swimwear for summer 2024. But if I want to get links into my swimwear category, I have to use guest posts at the moment. Like, there is no other way really of scaling links.
Another thing that you like to call it, you don't like to call it guest posting, you actually call it influencer links, which I quite like the saying because, for example, I'll use the YouTuber Linus Tech Tips. He's got a tech YouTube channel, but he also has a tech blog, and you'll see companies like NVIDIA, for example, gift him the new graphics card to basically review both on his YouTube channel and also review on his website as well. So is that something that you're kind of potentially doing more of, like actually gifting the product?
Yeah, absolutely. But if you think that, sorry, you can cut this out. I've got an itchy nose. Absolutely. But if you think about the concept of real links from real sites owned by real people with real readers, then that's perfect for NVIDIA. Yeah. Like, it's absolutely perfect. Think about the swimwear brands that we work with or the denim brands that we're working with. Like, there are people out there that are typically 21 to 30, female, run Insta accounts, run TikTok accounts, but they also have a blog in the background that they're actually using as a way of documenting fashion over the ages, maybe. Or maybe they're doing it as a way of supplement the social income that they're getting. I don't know. Like, that's in the eyes of the blogger. But it's absolutely the way it has to go, because the social proof that comes with your tech guy, in that he's running a YouTube channel as well. Like, no spammer is also running YouTube channels, they can create an Instagram account and just syndicate the blog posts to it. But if you look at like posts are getting comments on, like, it can't be that hard for a search engine to go a step and have a look at the comments, have a look at, Google owns YouTube. Mm-hmm. It should easily be able to reference the two entities. And we can have a whole discussion about entity SEO, but the fact that there is an entity called youtube.com/Kasradash, and there is a website called kasradash.com, and Google, and you link between the two, and then Google can see that you're actually getting engagement, that has to be an EAT signal.
Yeah.
So the mommy, whatever we called it, .com, owned by the South Asian guy, he's not got that EAT signal. It's that's our cutoff, I suppose. So yeah, as long as real links from real sites, then we're totally cool with it.
Yeah, definitely. So it's enough of the SEO talk, because you're also quite business savvy as well. Like, obviously you've been doing it for way longer than I have, but talk to me about the wording that you use on your marketing, because we were just having a chat about this outside, and we said that SEO comes down to how you pitch SEO. Like, you could either earn $500 a month per client, or you could earn 50,000 a month per client, or you could earn 5 million per client. But it's all how you position it and how you actually propose the deal to that actual business, and obviously your prospecting and stuff. But tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, obviously there are businesses of different sizes that need different needs, different goals, different administration processes to get through the door. Whilst I believe there is a place in the world for $500 a month SEO, the way my business is set up, I'm not sure what we deliver. Yeah. Like, most of our clients pay more than $500 a month for us to run their analytics. Yeah. So the first question I would be asking at $500 a month is, like, what's the skill set of the person you're paying for? Which, again, SEO is global. That's what I love about it. If you've got, and there are some really talented people in Asia that are doing SEO. I employ Filipinos myself at the moment. We had 300 staff in India at one point, and there are some bright sparks out there. So let's not remove anything away from that. And $500 a month living in India probably isn't actually that much these days. It's quite expensive, India. But if you were to go to Dhaka in Bangladesh, then $500 a month is a decent salary from one client. And if you've got 4 clients, all of a sudden you're earning more than a barista in Starbucks in the US.
Yeah.
yet you're living in Bangladesh. So you've probably got a really nice apartment. You've got a good quality of life. And that is fine for a lot of small businesses. Once you start to get towards, and I was actually corrected by one of my friends, Nick Wilsden of Talk Partnership, who does a lot of enterprise SEO. Enterprise SEO is really classified a company doing over $1 billion a year. So we don't work with many enterprise, is what I discovered yesterday. We work a lot with large businesses. So probably doing 500 million a year down to 100 million a year in revenue, by the way, not necessarily in profit. So these companies have a different requirement. So as an example, we are signed up to becoming carbon neutral by 2035 because one of our FTSE 100 clients, they've made a commitment to their shareholders that they're going to work with their supply chain to make sure that they are being as eco-friendly as possible. We wouldn't be on the tender lists anymore unless we were signed up to the carbon neutral scheme. It's called EcoVadis. €1,000 I think we paid for this certification. Is it a con? Nearly a con as the second microphone in the podcast studio. But you've also got the administration and the reporting requirements that a big company requires. You've also got the fact that they make you jump through hoops. So it just adds to the monthly fee. Yeah. And you couldn't deliver a job at $5,000 a month. The skill set of the people that they require you to have involved doesn't come at $5,000 per month. They like sometimes the security of having boots on the ground in the country that they're based in. So they could probably procure what we do for them slightly less offshore, but their purchasing team's requirements are that you must be a limited company in the UK. You must be VAT registered in the UK. So they're unable to take advantage of globalization, which is obviously great for us. You've also got the skill set required from an analytical perspective. So if you're working with a small local business that gets 100 visits a month, maybe some really basic Looker Studio reports will suffice. If you're working with a business that's getting 1 million hits a day, where the attribution is across app, social, paid, organic, email, TV QR codes, like it's complicated. And it's not as simple as just making a basic Looker Studio report that says, oh, SEO drove £8 million this week. Like when you get to omnichannel, it just becomes a lot more complicated. And like I say, the skill set of the people that I have to employ to interpret the data goes up. Therefore, their wages go up. Therefore, our fee to the client goes up. So it's certainly not a case of we charge 10K and it costs 500 to deliver. Like there's a lot of moving parts that go into large company SEO.
One thing that you spoke about was in some cases the SEO might just be flatlining, but they might actually be getting more email signups or more app signups, which when you're doing $500 SEO, no local business has an app, or very few have an app. And it's just the whole intricacies of a bigger business. You just don't even think about that, where it's like, oh, the SEO isn't working, but it actually is. You might have just drove 5,000 signups in the past week for a company.
And that comes down to attribution. And what you've also got to consider when you get to a certain size of organization, a lot of the SEO we do is also sculpting the front page. So maybe you're an online travel agent and you know that if you can get a new user to download the app, you're going to get on average 6 times more flight bookings from them. So the value of me ranking for flights to Las Vegas and picking up one booking is tiny compared to me ranking for flights to Las Vegas, getting the app page ranked. Then the app is on their phone. We've got the potential for push notifications. We can, when they get to the airport, we can try and upsell them lounge access. Sure. There's so many opportunities. Like, where you staying? Have you got a car hire?
Yeah.
But once we're on their phone and they've asked to, they've not said don't track the app. Like, there are limitations with app marketing as well. You've just got so much more chance of getting that second, third, fourth, fifth booking from them. So the value of getting an app page ranked outweighs a web page ranked. Yeah. But that also comes with a slightly different methodology in terms like you can't really build a link to an inner page on an app. Yeah. So that's, again, you look at the content, you look at the tech, you look at links to the app from the actual web page. It's hard to value SEO traffic sometimes, and you could have flatlining SEMrush visibility, but that doesn't tell the true picture. Maybe branded search is down, but unbranded search is up because they're doing less TV ads, they're doing less radio, they're doing less out of home. So you can log into SEMrush and stick in a domain and go, oh, they're not doing that well. But unless you're looking at a specific project or a specific bank of keywords, bear in mind, a lot of our clients rank for millions of keywords. Like, just because we dropped for 50,000, maybe we don't offer hotels in Pyongyang anymore. So we let those pages die. Well, all of a sudden it's like, well, they're down. It's like, well, they're not. The pages that we care about, the commercially important pages, will be fine. It's just that all this stuff that we're ranking for in the side, maybe we just weren't tracking it as much, or we just moved our budget elsewhere.
Yeah, I quite like some of the things that you've said there, because it's all about how good your back end is. Like, for example, you can work with a medium-sized business or a small-sized business, and they might have a really good product, but they might not be squeezing the customer enough. They might not be having upsells on the cart page, cross sells, premium delivery, apps, for example. But it sounds like with the bigger companies that you work with, they've kind of already got a lot of that figured out, right?
They've got more resource, is the reality. So we work with, and not every company we work with is some $100 million organization. An example that I used in the last talk I gave was actually for a super affiliate site in home and life insurance. So they are doing well, don't get me wrong. More from paid than organic these days. They got hit by helpful content, and we're fighting to get them back, is the truth. But we also manage 100K a month of PPC spend for them. So we've had to replace the lost organic traffic with more paid traffic. So we're not perfect at this game. But the analogy that we often use with that client is, so we generate a lot of phone leads for them. Well, if you imagine we're on holiday, I'm out on the strip and I'm giving out flyers and I'm driving people to the bar every day. Like, come to my bar, 6 shots for a £5, I don't know, whatever the offer is. Save on your car insurance. And I get them to the bar and I bring them in, but there's no one working the bar. Yeah. So they're going to leave and go to the next pub or bar or restaurant and get served quicker. So if you haven't got your back end sorted, why are you investing in front end traffic? And a lot of the time it's picking up the phone within 3 rings. It's having someone respond to that email quote request within an hour, really. Because if you've got someone in market, like if you get an inquiry form through your website, that person is at the point of purchase, or at least the point of discussion about the purchase. And if you're not jumping on it, well, the next person along will, because you've got to assume that they've sent 3 or 4 different inquiry forms through on different websites. Again, that's where it helps if you're a big business, because maybe you can have 2 or 3 positions on the front page. So you start to control the message. Yeah. Then you can do one at a medium price quote, one at a slightly more premium price quote, and just test upsells. But for most small businesses, answer the email, answer the phone. Don't worry about apps and just get the basics right, and the customer will be happy.
So let's talk about if you were trying to get a little bit more of the bigger brands. What's your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, everybody chases the big brands because they think that it comes with the big fees. I will say it comes with the big responsibility, the big legal risk, the big employees. So it's a different way of servicing the customer as opposed to working with a local podcast studio in Manchester, as an example. Think about your positioning, think about your problem-solving content that you're putting out there. I can tell you for a fact, none of my large business customers Googled SEO Manchester or find me an SEO agency. A lot of it comes from personal branding. A lot of it comes from speaking at events and trying to influence the message that's put out there. So when we are talking about digital PR on stage, we try and include, so we always use real world case studies because then people can go away and do their own research on it. But I'll typically use one challenger brand and one large brand so that hopefully I'm appealing to two different subsets of the audience. And hopefully I'll also eliminate half the audience because they'll think, oh, he wouldn't work with a brand like us. Well, that's fine because we're not wasting either of our time. Also think about the fact that in a bigger company, your SEO might not be the be all and end all for that business. So just because you consider it important doesn't mean that procurement consider it important, doesn't mean that the VP of marketing considers it important. They could have let's say you're working with a TV brand. Well, in January, there's CES in Barcelona, like the biggest consumer electronics show of the year, where they launched the new models of TV for that year. From October, probably earlier, they're planning that. So you're trying to pitch your new magic SEO campaign in November, you're not even on their radar. But you've got, even though they might have an SEO person in-house, the decision makers might not necessarily have the headspace to pull the trigger on releasing that budget, because they might be thinking, yeah, that's fine, but I'd rather keep that 50k back in this quarter's budget for something that might come up when we're on the way to the trade show. So you've got to factor in more macro factors that could influence who makes a decision and when. You've also got, in bigger businesses, people don't want to lose their jobs because they've got their pensions relying on it, their mortgages relying, and if they make the wrong decision, that could affect their path up the career ladder. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time, having a reputation for having safe hands is what gets you there. Having case studies on your website, which details similar brands that you've done. Find out what the problem is. Like sometimes we work with a large roofing company. Their problem isn't driving new traffic to the site. Their problem is that all their instruction guides are in PDFs. How do we get the PDFs ranking? Or ideally, how do we convert the PDFs to web pages? Otherwise, you end up in a PDF trap where you click the PDF into SERP and you can't get, the only way is back to SERP. Yeah. Whereas with a lot of our sort of brand manufacturing customers, we're digitizing their instruction books and getting that to rank, which is seen as much of an internal goal as selling more air fryers, as an example. So think about the problem that you're trying to solve for these big corporate enterprise businesses, and sometimes it might not be what you think it is.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think the solution to selling anything really is figuring out what people's pain points and problems are. And
solve the problem.
Yeah, definitely. So I've got one last SEO question, and then the rest is actual business talk. And I know I said about 10 minutes ago that's the last SEO question, but toxic links. What's your thoughts on them? What's your thoughts on disavows? Do you do them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bone of contention in the industry at the moment. Toxic links, can you still negative SEO websites. Not as easy as you used to be able to, because you literally used to be able to just use the stuff that used to make you rank to make you not rank. I will also caveat that with, in life, do good, not bad, and you will live a happier life. So rather than focusing on trying to knock your competition out the SERPs, why don't you focus on doing some better stuff for yourself? And you will live a happier, more fulfilled life in general. A little bit of bitterness in your brain, I think, if you're trying to knock people out of the SERPs. In terms of disavow, I do believe in it, and we do use it for some of our clients. Some tell us not to; they're not interested. But if we are asked by the client, "Do you believe in disavow?" then we say yes, and we say yes for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's good to audit and know your link profile anyway, even if you don't submit that disavow, because if you don't know what you've got, how do you know what you need? Yeah. And that's, to me, is a common sense way of looking at your link profile. Otherwise, you might over-optimize certain categories. And we've seen where we've been focusing on the same 4 or 5 categories for a few months, it starts to flatline. Whereas if we start building links to other sections or other collections, because we work a lot on Shopify, other collections within the website, they start to grow quicker than the stuff that's flatlining. And the stuff that's flatlining actually starts to go up as we start to see it being less over-optimized. In terms of disavow, I also look at it as it's like an insurance policy. So I would rather have an influence on how I sculpt a link profile and make sure that a lot of what we disavow these days is either very old stuff. So we work with a lot of established bigger companies, as we've discussed. They were probably building links in 2011, 2012 that still exist occasionally, not often these days. But also when you get good links, you can also pick up scraper sites.
Aggregator sites.
Yeah. And there used to be a thing, and it's been a while since I've had a link on it, but back in the day, you'd get a link off Moz, and when it was relevant, sorry, Mars, and you would pick up 6 to 20 scraper links. The same applies with tier 1 media. So you might pick up a link in the New York Times, you might pick up a link in the Daily Mail, Daily Mirror, whatever tier 1 media that you're targeting for your chosen demographic. And that page just gets scraped across. And some scrape is good. So, for example, if you get a link in the Reach network, quite often it'll go out to all their local websites, which then appear in Google Discover in the local area. So I'm not against all scrapers, but you do get a lot of stuff that is just picked up by AdSense spammers that are just trying to get page impressions. We'd rather disavow them. Then it shows that we're in control, and it's kind of like an insurance product, really.
I see a lot of e-commerce stores get scraper and aggregator sites, mainly because they typically have good images, e-commerce stores, especially with some of the brands that you're working with. And these scraper sites are trying to rank that image for, I don't know, best jeans or whatever, and trying to get more Google images traffic. And it ends up, in some cases, if you're not proactively doing a disavow, it can destroy a website.
Yeah, I mean, the hater's going to hate. You know, like, this is the internet. There's always a chancer out there that's trying to steal some of your brand traffic, steal some of your brand equity. Is it not imitation is the highest form of flattery?
Yeah.
So we should be grateful. Like, if you are being copied, it's because you're doing something right. Mm-hmm. It'd be good that if you're considering that you should have a plan in place just to make sure that you're not overcopied.
Yeah.
Or you're at least looking at mitigating the risk that comes with being copied.
Yeah, definitely. So 4-day work week. This is something you are famously known for. I remember, I think that this might have even been prior to me meeting you. I saw a post saying, hey, we're going down to 4 days a week. And that post went viral on LinkedIn. How many likes did it get?
Well, I think it still gets likes today, which is crazy. So I think we got about 38 million impressions, 606,000 100,000 reactions, 100,000 reshares. I had people I went to school with that now live in Australia saying, "Oh my God, this just came in our company Slack."
Right,
So
okay.
like, just weird stuff. That, I mean, we've been like viral before. Once upon a time, I actually trended on Twitter in India, so I can't even remember what it was for. But this was the most viral thing that I've ever done for myself or my customers, to be honest.
Right,
Like,
okay.
it was crazy. And if I'd known, I'd have used a better image. I literally just went, but I'd used a Creative Commons free image because I've been legally trained. But I'd literally just found the first on Google Images that didn't look rubbish. Whereas if I'd have known it was going to have 38 million eyeballs on it, I'd have branded it up. Or maybe that's why it went, because it was kind of a throwaway post. And if you go to LinkedIn and search for Gareth Hoyle, let's hope I'm the first result you come across, and have a look at my pin posts, and it's there. 4-day work week. Crazy. It still gets likes today. It's mental.
Yeah, so why did you do it? Because there's obviously been some case studies recently that say that 4-day work weeks aren't actually as brilliant as what people make out to be. Obviously, we've had long conversations on this, and I'm probably in favour of a 4-day work week. But what's your thoughts on it? Why did you do it?
Yeah, so I'll give you some modern practicalities. I'll just give you a 2-minute history lesson. So before 1920s-ish, we used to work 6 days a week. Then it was actually Henry Ford, with the invention of the production line and the efficiencies that the machines brought, that introduced a 5-day work week, because he believed that if his staff rested for 2 days, they'd be more productive on the 5 days that they're in. And the advent of mechanization meant that they didn't lose any efficiency by only working 5 days, not 6. Fast forward literally 100 years, we've got fast internet, we've got fast MacBooks, we've got AI. Like, we've got tools in our hands that even 20 years ago we wouldn't have dreamed would be around. So why can't we make the same paradigm shift in terms of efficiency that Henry Ford made in the 1920s? I also believe that Boots the chemist were big believers in the jump from 6 to 5 days. You can do some Googling on that. I'm sure that was in the 60s though, when he made a big change. My academic knowledge around 4-day week has been, I've done less interviews on it recently, so I've filled my brain with other stuff. But using the tools that are available to us today, there's no reason why it should take 5 days to achieve the output that we expect. So for me, quite a strange employer, I suppose. I believe in work-life balance massively. 2 days off doesn't seem like a fair swap for 5 days on.
Right, okay, yeah.
Right. I just think that 3 off for 4 on just seems more balanced. And don't get me wrong, we do 8 measurable hours per day. So it's a slightly longer day. You can take an hour's lunch if you want, but then you're doing 9 till 6 with an hour's lunch. Or you can do 8 till 6 and go to the gym in the day and pick your kids up from school and just live your life, but just submit, because we're quite strict on time tracking, not to catch the employees out, more like profitability calculations. How long does a task take to complete? Are there efficiencies that we can find within the process? And we can only know that via time tracking. So you can do 8 hours per day across whatever 8 hours you want. So I sometimes work at 5 a.m. I sometimes work at 11 p.m. But I pick my kids up from school twice a week. I drop them off to school 3 times a week. That is more valuable to me as a perk than extra money. The other reason why we looked at the 4-day week outside of the work-life balance and not having to work so hard these days, or not, we can work smarter these days rather than harder, was to do with attraction and retention. So there are 1,000,001 digital marketing agencies in this world, and we're all fighting for the same staff. And what sort of way that we can stand out, because we can pay industry level wages, that's fine. I'm not, we're not doing this to try and, so as an FYI, we work 4 days for a full-time salary. So we don't take 20% of their wages. They get exactly the same perks, exactly the same annual leave, exactly the same salary. So nothing is lost, only gains for the employee. And we have twice as many applicants to every job role that we put out there now, because I think that especially the current, dare I say, millennials or whatever, I don't really buy into these ways of segmenting workers. I think that we all want more balance in our lives. Like, my dad worked shifts. My dad was a policeman, worked shifts. He was working hard. My mum worked in retail in a shop. She was on her feet all day doing like manual work. I'm not saying 4-day week will work for every industry. It would be very difficult to do it if you were running a restaurant. Yeah. Whereas if you're running a digital marketing agency, I think that it really lends itself to the concept of measuring output, not attendance. And it's that output, not attendance methodology that I really subscribe to. And where it kind of came from was, one of my friends is a lawyer, and when he was a junior lawyer, it was seen as bad for your career if you left the office before the boss, which is just bonkers to me. What if the boss hates his wife and doesn't want to go home? Well, what if you've got a small child that you want to spend some time with before they go to bed, yet your company culture has guilted you into not going home because your boss hates his wife, so you miss out on your kid growing up? Like, that doesn't fly for me. So I've always tried to build a business where I would want to work, and 4-day week is most definitely something. I don't do a 4-day week, by the way. I do 5 short days. So I still do the 32 hours, forget about the 24/7 thinking about the business. But I tend to try and do 5 short days of just over 6 hours. So that fits my lifestyle better.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the last question that I've got for you is, do you have any regrets in business? So, for example, I spoke to James on this, and he said that you've been in this game for years, and again, this is just a mindset shift, where, for example, I'm a lot younger than you, and I'm way more hungry, and I would probably want to do 6 times the numbers that you're doing right now. Do you not think maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, you might want it to grow past, let's say, the current revenue that you're doing, or are you kind of just happy where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I was hungrier and greedier back in the day, and I guess you can always look back. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. We could have pedaled faster. If we knew that directories were going to disappear in 2012. Should we have made more in 2008? Of course you can look at it that way. I'm not from crazy wealth, so I already live a life that massively exceeds what I expected. I used to live on a house next door to a pub. I used to live on a street next door to a pub where I used to play pool as a 17, 18-year-old. And if you'd have said to me at that age, one day you'll live on this road, I'd have said, no, I won't. How on earth would I afford to live on this beautiful road with detached houses and big gardens? So, I mean, I've exceeded everything that was probably expected of me from my upbringing. I'm the first person in my family to go to university. I'm the first person in my family that we know of that was running a business. Forget about like we maybe had a few self-employed tradespeople over the years. Do I regret? No, because I've invested savvily. We were joking before. I think I bought my first Bitcoins at like 150 quid a coin, and I still have some. I've had a nice life, Kazra. Like this job has allowed me to travel the world. It's allowed me to see my kids grow up. It's allowed me to scratch the itch of running a business and exiting a business for 6 figures. Never had any crazy sort of 7 or 8 figure exits, but I've always built kind of very niche businesses within the SEO space. So I'm not really expecting to exit for 7 or 8 figures. We could have done more. And, you know, I look at like what you guys are doing, and I look at specifically what James is doing. And yeah, he's on a different path to me, I suppose. Like I love spending time with my kids. I love going away for the weekend. We were in Estonia. That was one of the very few trips I've done recently where I haven't stayed for a couple of days afterwards and done some touristing. Yeah. So success shouldn't always be measured in financial senses. It should be measured on a happiness scale, really. And whilst money doesn't buy you happiness, it's nicer to be happy with a Patek on your wrist than a Casio watch.
I mean, you make a fair point. So I think that's a good place to end. Thanks so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Always good to see you, Kazra.
And where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Google my name, and I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. So if you just go to LinkedIn, and I can't remember the URL, but go to Gareth Hoyle. My agency is Marketing Signals. I run a due diligence and asset valuation business on garethhoyle.com. I run a digital PR software reporting tool called coveragely.com. And I generally loiter around international conferences. So come and say hello. Always open to a glass of wine or a cup of coffee. And yeah, let's chat.
Perfect. Thanks.